Broncos fans, let me know if Denver should be sellers at the NFL trade deadline coming up at us November 2nd. Let me know what you're thinking. Go down and respond while the intro video rolls. Y for yes or N for no. I'll give you my opinion later on. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. We got two stories to cover today. The first one is, should the Broncos trade Melvin Gordon? That's been a popular trade target and candidate throughout NFL trade rumors, so we'll unpack all of that. And then we'll get the latest on who's going to be the next owner for the Broncos. It's not the biggest story as there's a football season to be played, but it will be a story come February and March after the season. And I'll tell you what, teams that have good owners tend to do pretty well on the field. Teams that don't have good owners that are more interested in just cashing a paycheck and making green money instead of putting good talent on the field and good product tend to have pretty bad teams. So I'm talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's not beat around the bush. But the Broncos, rest in peace, Pat Bolton. Hopefully the next owner is just as invested as he was, and that's why the Broncos have had such a great history. Let's go back to our first topic, though. Should the Broncos trade Melvin Gordon? This has been a name that's been pretty popular in NFL trade rumors, and it makes a decent amount of sense to me. He has been flirted around with maybe moving on, and the 2021 season stats do just enough to make him an interesting trade candidate for other teams, but not enough to make the Broncos want to hold on to him. He's kind of in that no man's land, in my opinion. And you look at the numbers through 2021, 7 games in, and what I want to know is if he did not, go off for that 70-yard touchdown run week 1 against the Giants, how different are these numbers? I mean, they're 70 yards less across the yards column, 1 touchdown, probably just a little over 4 yards per carry, but how different of a conversation are we having? That's what I want to know out of this, because Melvin Gordon has been kind of handcuffed to what's going to be the future running back in Denver and Javonte Williams. You don't invest a second overall pick in a player if you aren't interested in making him your feature back. And Williams has seen more of a workload lately. They still kind of alternate drives. That's what they tend to do. And honestly, I like that approach. Keep both of them fresh instead of going back and forth in a ping-pong motion. That way they can kind of get into a bit of a rhythm rather than play a snap, leave, then come back in. But if the Broncos do want to explore trade avenues, I got 4 teams outlined here that I think would make some sense. I got the Falcons and the Eagles up there because those are 2 teams that need a running back. I don't think they're really buyers right now. The Falcons are quietly a 3-3 team and in the playoff hunt. The Eagles will be without Miles Sanders for a handful of weeks probably after going down last week. But they also didn't show much interest in running the football even when they had him. And then the Bills and the Cardinals are 2 very, very competing teams in the playoff picture that maybe want to add a little depth. So I kind of, stick my toe in both ponds. So what I want to know from you, though, is should the Broncos trade Melvin Gordon? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this the pinned comment on this video. So if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, go on down during the ad, reply to this, then come back up and join the video. T for trade or P for pass. For me, what it really comes down to before you want to trade him is the conversation of what will the compensatory pick be for Melvin Gordon. So what this means is when players leave after their contract is up, and Melvin Gordon is in the final year of his contract, if players opt to go sign with a different team, depending on the stats they had the year before, any awards or honors, but most importantly, the new contract they signed, depending on how big it is, the previous team will get an NFL draft pick. So if you ever wonder how teams end up with like 3 fifth-round picks, this is how usually it happens. A handful of picks, compensatory picks, are handed out by the NFL each and every year. And so, for me, if the Broncos are going to move on from Gordon, which I kind of expect after this season, what are they going to get in return? Not a ton, in my opinion. So that's why I'm going to throw this trade idea out here. I got the Bills taking on Gordon, and they hand over a 5th-round pick. The Broncos are not going to trade Melvin Gordon away if the compensatory pick they project to get, and that's the key word, project. They don't know. There's not a clear formula that exactly tells you mid-season. You got to wait to see what contract he signs. But I don't think he's going to get a big contract. He's an older running back now. Maybe doesn't have a lot of fuel left in the tank. So if he does sign elsewhere, the Broncos will probably get a 6th or a 7th rounder. So I think a 5th makes sense because at least you move up in the draft. If you're going to get a 6th or a 7th back for him, then you might as well keep him because he's still a good football player. You're not going to just give away talent because for no reason. So that's what it comes down to me. And I think the Bills make sense. I'm not in love with their running back duo of Singletary and Moss. I think both of them had flashes at points, but why not add a three-headed monster in that backfield to help Josh Allen and this Bills offense put it all together? It's also interesting to see an AFC and AFC trade. Usually you don't get that, but these two teams, they're not going to play each other this year, so the Broncos may be able to stomach that. With that being said, would you do this trade? Give me an A for accept or D for decline. Fantasy football time. Everyone loves, I get garbage trades all the time. I don't think this is a garbage trade. To me, it makes a decent amount of sense for both parties, but it's the NFL trade deadline. Crazy shit happens all the time. It's hard to predict. Let me know what you're thinking down below. What I will let you know is that you should check out our sportsbook partner, BetUS. You're going to get a 125% deposit bonus when you use the link at the bottom of your screen along with the promo code Broncos125. You put 100 in, you got 225 to play with. It's free money. Come on. Cash that green in. Take the Benjis. Here's my Week 8 picks. This is what I'm rolling with going into this Sunday. I'm taking the Falcons -3. They've looked frisky lately, and the Panthers have dropped 4 in a row. What's one more? 5 in a row. Bengals -10.5 at the Jets. The Jets are down to who? Mike White? That's not going to be fun for anyone. So give me a blowout at the Meadowlands. The Jags +3. Sure. They're coming off their bye. Seattle and Geno Smith, I just don't have that much confidence in, so I'll take the points. I got the over in the Denver Broncos game. Washington is allowing the most points in the NFL, so yeah, 44 seems just low enough for me to dabble in that. And then the Saints and Bucks game, why not root for points? Over 50, let's take the shootout. Those are my Week 8 picks. But BetUS also has a ton of great prop bets. This is one that I think is really easy. A team to score 3 unanswered times, that's a lot in the NFL. To put up 3 straight scores, I'm going with no. You put $10 in, you're going to win 17, so you got 27 altogether. To me, neither offense looks like they can rattle off 3 straight scoring possessions, so that's why I'm going with no. Check them out, BetUS. Make sure you have to use that link, chatsports.com/bet, promo code Broncos125. Switching gears, let's go to the latest ownership talk. So we're not going to dive too deep in this because there's a lot of nuances to it that's honestly pretty complicated. But the team was left down from Pat Bowlen to his trust, and the trust is managed by Joe Ellis, I think is the CEO of it. And he's got 7 daughters who I don't think play very nicely. Anyway, it looks like the team's going to be up for sale at the end of the season and would go for a record $4 billion. That's with a B. $billion. So naturally, who else would buy it but the richest man in the world, Jeffrey Bezos, okay? He was rumored to be interested in becoming a Broncos owner back in like August, I think, September, early on, before the regular season kicked off though, and he wanted to get a stake of the Washington football team. He owns the Washington Post, I believe, so he's got some ties over there, so it makes sense, and sources say he wants to be an NFL owner. And that's why Bezos, to me, looks like a pretty decent leading candidate to be the next guy to own the Denver Broncos. But it looks like things have gone a different direction. Here's what Peter King from NBC had to say. As for all those Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones, among others, who'd love to see Jeff Bezos get involved in ownership of an NFL franchise, I hear he's not interested. At least now he's not. Here's what I'm going to say about this. Keep it on the back burner, okay? This is a conversation that we're going to go more in depth after the season's over. We got plenty of football to watch right now, but I do think these are not just figureheads. NFL owners, look at the big ones. The ones that are very involved tend to have pretty good results on the field. Jerry maybe is a little bit too involved, but Robert Kraft, answer any joke you want about him, but a handful of NFL owners that are very invested in their teams and not just kind of behind-the-scenes people tend to put pretty good talent and product on the field. So I think it's important to keep up with this topic. So with that being said, who will be the next Broncos owner? I'm going to hit you with back-to-back questions. Just let you sound off. If you want it to be you, that's the fun one here. What would you do if you owned the team? That's my biggest question. Is there a urinal that needs fixing? Do we need troughs instead of single urinals? Concession stand updates? Let me know what you would do as the owner. I hope you drive ticket prices down. Give me free tickets. Give yourself, give your friends free tickets. Well, if you're the owner, you have your own free tickets. Boxes for everyone's. I don't know. Let me know what you would do in this fantasy dream world where you get to own the Denver Broncos. Also, if you haven't already, please go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I'm talking Broncos and NFL, just sports in general, all the good stuff. So follow me at Matthew Petey. Go ahead, and if I get enough followers from this video, and if you let me know you came from this video, I'll give you a shout out on my Broncos breakdown next week.